You've been here before. Everything is working. The momentum is real. The money is moving. The version of you that you've been trying to become is finally showing up consistently. And then something happens. Not a failure, not a catastrophe, not even a bad decision. Just a collapse. Quiet. Gradual. So subtle you almost didn't notice it until you looked up and the moment was gone. You told yourself it was timing, circumstances, bad luck, the wrong environment. It wasn't. Here's what nobody in this space will say directly. The collapse wasn't random. It was scheduled. Not by external forces, not by the market or the economy or the people around you. By you. Specifically, by the version of you that was installed before you knew who you were capable of becoming. Your nervous system has been running a threat model since you were a teenager, a precise calibration of what feels safe, what feels familiar, what feels like home. And breakthrough, real breakthrough, doesn't feel like any of those things. It feels like exposure, like standing somewhere you don't have permission to be yet, like waiting for someone to find out you don't actually belong at this level, and the moment that feeling crosses a specific threshold, your system doesn't wait for you to make a bad decision. It makes one for you. Think about the last time it happened. You were moving, actually moving, not planning to move, not preparing to move, moving. And then one of these showed up. Sudden fatigue that had no physical explanation. An argument that came from nowhere and didn't need to happen. A spending decision that made 0 sense in retrospect. An old habit that resurfaced exactly when you had the least time for it. A relationship that imploded right when everything else was working. You probably spent weeks analyzing what went wrong. Nothing went wrong. Everything went exactly according to the model. Your nervous system detected a temperature change, income rising above the familiar range, visibility expanding past the comfortable threshold, standards elevating beyond what feels sustainable, and it corrected. Not dramatically. Your system is too sophisticated for drama. It found the subtlest possible intervention point and applied the minimum force necessary to return you to familiar. That's not self-sabotage. That's engineering. Your nervous system is the most precise instrument you own. The problem isn't that it's broken. The problem is it's been optimized for the wrong baseline. Here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. That baseline wasn't chosen. You didn't sit down at 19 and decide what level of income felt normal. You didn't consciously select your confidence ceiling or your consistency floor or the tier of life that your system treats as home. It was installed by your environment, by early experiences, by the people you grew up watching. By every moment your nervous system filed under, "This is what my life looks like," before you had the awareness to override it. And here's what makes it almost impossible to escape without intervention. The model generates its own evidence. Every time you collapse before the breakthrough, your system files it. Every time you revert to familiar, your nervous system updates its prediction. Every pattern that repeats becomes more deeply encoded as identity. You're not just stuck at the ceiling. You're actively reinforcing it every time you approach it and pull back. The ceiling teaches itself to hold. This is why insight doesn't fix it. You can understand this mechanism completely. You can read every book written on the subject, trace the pattern back to its origin, know exactly what's happening in real time as it's happening, and still collapse. Because understanding is cortical. The threat model is subcortical. You cannot negotiate with a system that operates below the level of negotiation. You cannot motivate your way past a ceiling that activates before motivation has a chance to form. You cannot discipline yourself through a response that fires faster than conscious thought. The only thing that moves the threat model is repeated evidence that the threat isn't real, not information about why the threat isn't real. Evidence. Lived, embodied, nervous system level evidence that operating above the current ceiling does not result in the catastrophe the model predicts. That evidence has to be generated deliberately, systematically, at calibrated intensity, over enough repetitions that the prediction updates. That's not a mindset shift, that's recalibration. Here's what recalibration actually looks like. It's not dramatic. That's the first thing to understand. The nervous system doesn't update through breakthroughs. It updates through repetition at the edge of the current threat threshold. Small, deliberate, consistent contact with the level your system currently treats as unsafe. Not leaping past the ceiling, leaning into it, repeatedly, until the system files enough non-catastrophic exposures that the prediction changes. The financial conversation you've been avoiding, have it, not at full intensity, at 70% of what you're actually capable of asking for, and watch what happens. When the catastrophe doesn't materialize, your system files it. The visibility you've been shrinking from. Take one step into it. Post the thing. Say the thing. Show up in the room. And watch your nervous system realize that being seen at that level doesn't destroy you. The standard you've been lowering to stay comfortable, hold it for 1 day, then 2, then a week, and let your system learn that sustaining elevation doesn't require the constant effort it predicted. That's how the model updates, not through force, through evidence that accumulates faster than the old prediction can reassert itself. The reason you've collapsed before every breakthrough isn't that you're not ready. It's that your nervous system made a prediction about what would happen if you didn't, and that prediction was wrong. And nobody gave you the framework to prove it wrong systematically before the collapse happened again. You've been trying to outrun the model. You can't outrun it. You have to update it. The people who don't collapse before the breakthrough aren't more talented than you. They're not more disciplined. They don't have better information or better strategies or better circumstances. They have a nervous system that was calibrated, either accidentally through repeated exposure or deliberately through structured intervention, to treat your breakthrough level as their baseline. That's it. That's the whole difference. Not potential. Calibration. Your next breakthrough is already built. The strategy exists. The opportunity exists. The version of you that can hold it exists. The only thing standing between you and it is a nervous system running a threat model that was written before you knew what you were capable of. And threat models can be rewritten, not through motivation, not through another insight that fades in 3 weeks, through architecture, sequence, deliberate recalibration at the exact point the system tightens. The 30-day protocol in my bio was built for this specific problem, not the general problem of self-improvement. This problem, the collapse before the breakthrough, the pattern that repeats regardless of how much you understand it. 3 phases, 30 days, built around the 3 moments your system will try to pull you back, with the structure already in place to carry you through them before the collapse has a chance to happen. Not because you need to be managed, because the model needs evidence you can't generate alone as fast as the old prediction reasserts itself. You've already survived every collapse that brought you here. You decided before you clicked on this video.